You're listening to Postgrad Depression, where we discuss this week's current hyperfixation. My name's Mariah, and my fun fact is I have a taco date on Tuesday.
Damn, that Virgo rising horoscope is actually coming true. The past 6 months telling you.
We'll see. Maybe now that the planets are direct.
My name's Kenzie, and I'm about to get a Monarch Squishmallow from Walgreens because Maya's buying it for me.
My name is Kaylin. My favorite Zelda video game is Twilight Princess.
I still gotta get around to playing Twilight Princess.
I'm still ahead of you.
I've literally played till I saw the monkeys with the butt cheeks, and I was like, damn, bro. I played the stage right past that, but that man came out dancing. He said,
y'all haven't even gotten to like the deep story parts of it.
Yes, I have.
Well, yeah, you more than Mariah. Nothing happens when you see the butt cheeks.
Well, I got past that. I got to that dark little cave thing that you've done. I played right past that, I think.
Dark little cave thing?
Yeah, where you can't go in the water and you're like going like this. I don't know. I have to point it out. I don't know how to explain it.
Quite far now. So.
Yeah, I know that, but it was like I can't put a finger on it. Or even when you were like, I got past when you were the Wolf Link and then back to Human Zelda or Human Link and then back to Wolf Link, and I stopped playing for that.
When you're looking for the Tears of Light in Kakariko Village.
I think so. I don't know. I just didn't like the back and forth. So it was stressing me out. But to be fair, I also just don't beat any of the Zelda games because I just like playing them and I don't want them to end.
I know. I can't wait though because like it'll be like 3 years down the podcast. I'll be like, my friends finally beat Twilight Princess, so I can finally talk about my favorite Zelda game.
I just don't want them to end because like I enjoy playing, and that's why I think like it's dumb that Breath of the Wild is an open world game, but like when you beat it, that's it. Like why can't I just play?
Well,
why can't I go back and play in? I thought once you begin, the game ends, the credits roll.
No, actually, when you beat Ganon, it actually takes you back to your very last save point right before you begin. It's kind of dumb.
It's dumb. I feel like I should just be allowed to begin and I keep playing.
Yeah, Twilight Princess is a little dumber because like after you beat him, you go back to right before you beat him again, and there's nothing else to do in that game really besides to unlock everything. Like all there is to do is beat Ganon. Whereas in Breath of the Wild, if you haven't unlocked all the shrines, found all the Korok seeds, done all the side quests, then you still have a lot to do.
They should just never end that game like Genshin. It's never gonna end.
Yeah, they should just keep expanding it.
I actually got super emotional the first time I beat Twilight Princess. I was like, what do I do with it? I was just a little kid. I was like walking around my grandma's house like, what is this?
I feel like with today's technology and like how DLCs and expansions work, like literally like how many times like once every 2 months there's an update on Genshin? They could just do that with like all games now.
Well, that's because the actual story with Genshin isn't even done, you know, like But they do add tons of stuff. They add these events that. What if the game was already finished? Every country was already made, etc., etc. They'd still have events.
They'd have events. They'd make up new side quests for you to do. They might add like a prequel type story where you can do something else. Like they wouldn't stop because Genshin's getting too much money.
Oh yeah.
You're like, too much of my money.
Too much of my money.
Please stop.
With Genshin, there is no post-credit depression because like it never ends.
I would
Princess,
argue that when you beat an Archon, there is some post-credit depression.
There is.
With Zhongli.
There's still more stuff to do on the continent,
but it's a whole different map.
It makes me so sad. What do you mean a whole
different? Not
different
really map, but like I remember when you beat Ryan Shogun, you were like, "This is what like after I you can't tell me what it looked like before."
Oh yeah, I mean before it was raining all the time. It still rains a lot on that damn islands. But like before, I like didn't know the story. I kind of feel like a person with no family when I'm just running around these islands. I'm like, what's the purpose?
I mean, you ain't got a family.
But anyways, you get what I'm saying. I'm like, I've already beat the Archon and I beat the main story quest. Although there's tons of fucking things that I need to do to get like materials and like lessons and stuff like that. I'm like, what's the point? So I've decided to not beat the Archon story until I do a majority of the map because that was what had happened.
You were excited.
I wasn't strong enough to beat Raiden Shogun or even attempt the beginning of her story arc. But I went to Liyue. I beat the entire country of Liyue. I did all the side quests. Obviously there's probably some more chests there I could probably get, but I've combed through that fucking place. All right, and I don't have any other quests in Liyue. So then when I went back to Inazuma, my adventure rank was high as fuck. My characters were high as fuck. I started doing the Archon quest, doing it so quickly, and then I got to Raiden Shogun and beat the shit out of her. I was like,
I think you were just excited because you met Yoimika and you were like, please tell me more about Raiden Shogun.
Yeah, I met Yaimiko and she was telling me about Raiden Shogun, and I wasn't strong enough, so I was like, I'll come back. And then I came back, and It only took a couple steps to beat her. I was like, fuck.
It's okay. We haven't even touched Sumeru yet. We'll get there.
I know.
You slow and steady wins the race, and you'll enjoy. And when you do the side quest, like I remember you were doing the side quest, and it was like so far back. You were like, I already know all this.
Yeah.
Well, Kaylin just like she was like, I will defeat Child. I will skip every single step, and I will go straight to the ultimate side guy.
Any other side quests. I will do the main quest until it brings me to Child, and then I will eat my way to the top.
I still can't believe you did that shit. You missed out on so much.
You really did.
Well, I did it out of Scorpio Moon spite because Kinsey, I could tell she wanted to watch me fail. She wanted to watch me drop and die.
Because I expected you to. Okay, who comes to a fucking fight with that much food? Like, guys, I'm not kidding.
I've got Kaching and what the fuck's the water bitch? I can't think of her name.
No, I didn't have Kokomi at the moment.
She's like, I've got Kaching. I'm unstoppable.
No, what she says, I have pockets and pockets of food.
It was,
and she went Breath of the Wild level crazy. Like she foraged. She went and found.
Yeah,
that food.
I will say before I didn't prepare food for Child. You were running around doing the story quest, and I was like, let's see what foods I can mix in. Like I taught you how to process like salt and spices and ham. Like I taught you how to process
it don't matter. It don't matter when you're strong. You don't have to feed yourself.
And I was like,
strong.
Thank you. If I put these foods together, it gives me an attack buff, which I was using that one over and over again because if I didn't have the attack buff, I would have never done any damage.
The jaded
to Child.
Parcels.
Yeah, and then I just dodged.
Imagine if you had to be Child today with Ryan Shogun. How fast did you
bitch get over here?
Because I was like, if I get hit by him, I die. So if I move and he can't hit me, I don't die. And then if I eat this food and then hit him, it does damage as if I was leveled up.
Honestly, I'd bring my Zhongli, I'd put that shield on, I'd be like, fuck off, now I can walk right up next to you, bitch. And I'd get Ryan Shogun out, and I'd, like, slap that boy silly.
You'd get the Wanderer, you'd be like, cry louder.
Cry louder!
Kinsey was on the phone, and I was like, yeah, man, I got, like, halfway through his health. Oh, he already transformed. Yeah, I just got a little bit more to go. And she was like...
Talking this casual?
She was not doing it quickly. The fight took forever.
I do remember you guys both told me to take forever.
She's like, I got through it again. Like, I think I just need some more food. Like, let me go get some more food while I attempt one more time.
No, I got it first attempt.
No, you got your second attempt.
No,
I think you stopped.
I know it's your second attempt.
No, I swear to God.
I'm pretty sure I remember you told me you stopped to make more food.
Yep.
Oh, no, before I went in, I was like, let me go get more food.
It was not your first attempt.
Not that you died, but you were like, I'm going to pause.
I made you go in there the first time, and you died, but you had a lot of food, so then you left, got a bunch of food, came back, and you did it all in that next try.
I know, this is the way I remember it. I remember you saying, go fight Child, and I was like, let me grab some food, like make sure it's all cooked, because I had food, just had to prepare it. Ran into the building. Like, that's how I remember, and I didn't leave.
Kinsey, what did you show us this week?
I showed you guys, Howl's Moving Castle from Studio Ghibli.
Adorable film. An adorable film.
Yes. I said in the last episode at the end that this is my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. When I first found it, I feel like there's several. I don't know if our listeners feel this way, or if you guys feel this way. Actually, I know if you guys feel this way. But when you find something in your youth that just excites you so much, I'm talking like you can feel your nerve endings like on fire whenever you think about it, talk about it. Maybe that's autism.
Like it rewired you.
Yeah, like, and I could watch that movie so many times, talk about it, think about it, and it just made me so excited. And I think for me, I love seeing love in movies or books or stories that reflect the way I feel love, because I feel like there's many love stories or stories in romance genres that I don't really connect with, or I don't, as a demisexual person, I feel like it's not what I need to see and feel love, etc. So watching Howl's Moving Castle, like their chemistry, the way they talk to each other, their patience with one another, really was what was so romantic to me. And they had such chemistry, but they were just being people together. They were just getting to know one another in a very, like, I don't know, just genuine way. I'm not saying things can't be like adult themed or like, dirty and stuff like that. It's just like, I, for some reason, don't like those things if there's not some sort of deep, genuine emotional connection to it. And I take it really seriously. So
I think like the hopeless romantic, like you're right, the genuine connection, like it didn't feel forced. Like these few people were just simply two souls in love.
I never thought of it like that before you mentioned it, Kinsey, but like, in a lot of romance movie stories we see, like, there, it definitely is more adult oriented, and this or it's not a children's movie, it's safe for children to watch, but the love, because it's genuine, like it can still be enjoyed by adults, and it didn't have to be like dirty or get too like adult content for you to see the genuine connection and love that was there, that like they had getting to know each other, and you know, some of the hiccups that happened throughout their relationship just from their own inhibitions, and they still loved each other and want to be there for each other. It's like that's something that transcends towards, you know, any age audience, I feel like.
Yeah.
Funny to talk about that when one of the story points is that Sophie, you know, gets turned into an old woman.
Yes. I think that was really cool. I mean, it is said in the movie, like the lore, that he, since he's a wizard, he can see past the magic, and he knows that she's not an old woman. But I feel like there's more to his character about why he loves her. I mean, he starts off as a narcissistic man who only wants to be with the most beautiful girl in the world, and like he goes after beautiful women.
Yeah.
So the fact that he goes after Sophie and he ends up falling in love with her for who she is, instead of treating her the way he's treated women in the past, which is going on dates, fucking around, and then leaving. Like, it's obvious he's gotta like her for something else than that, because he doesn't try to fuck her or get with her that quickly or anything like that.
Yeah, and he's so like identity's so important to like him, whether it's like external or internal. He's like, I have to look the best, I have to be with the best. Well, but he's not like meeting those genuine connections like he is. Like, you're right, he's just leaving them.
I've seen theories after you showed me the movie for the first time, you know, kind of like any Studio Ghibli movie where there's like stuff was written so mystically that like there's still some mysteries to the story of things that like maybe you didn't think about the first time or like tie together the first time you watched it. But because, like, and I'll bring this up maybe a couple times with some of the theories I've heard, but when Sophie tells Howl to come find me, I've heard that because like all he saw was like a beautiful woman, so like the theory is like he looks around for beautiful women trying to find Sophie.
Oh, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That's actually not a theory. He did find her so beautiful that's why he's looking around for the prettiest woman, but also I think it's tied to his current like if we're talking about the time loop, his current self-esteem issues where he feels like he needs to be with the most beautiful woman. And the fact that one was calling out to him to find her in the future, he's like, well, shit, I need to go find her.
He's like, I'll try every single one.
You're like, at the same time, he still does struggle with narcissism and his own, you know, inhibitions and self-consciousness that, like, you know, he is kind of still fucking around.
Yeah, he is. But you can tell that when he finds Sophie, he realizes that she is the one because he doesn't treat her that way. Like, he really goes about it in a completely different way.
He ghosted the Witch of the Waste. The Witch of the Waste.
Forever. When you first showed me that and those bad guys turned into those little slime figures, like right at the intro, I was like, Kenzie, what are we watching? I thought it was romance, and those little slime guys just showed up.
Did they come after them too? They fill up the streets
scary.
And shit?
They are very scary. It's like the energy. They just like, they show up and they're like,
no spine. Just
yeah, so let's talk about the first fucking 5-10 minutes of the movie where, you know, I enjoy it. Like, it's tropey and it's done again and again, but it's because the fans want it. Where you have like the normal girl, like no powers, nothing too special to her. She's just living her day-to-day life, and this like magical, mystical man shows up and like sweeps her off her feet. And that whole
that's
scene,
like a Cinderella story.
Yeah, like the men like harassing her and trying to, you know, flirt with her like very creepily, and she's like, "No, I'm fine, I'm cool." And they're like about to like be more forceful with their, you know, harassment. And he just shows up. He's like, there you are. I was like,
I will say, I tend to not like the pick-me girl vibe. I really don't think she's a pick-me girl. If anything, she's like, she acknowledges that other girls, you know, dress up or do more stuff. But
like, I'm content being how I am, though.
I'm how I am. But she's like, I can tell that people do like when girls dress up like that. But she has no animosity towards those girls. Like, she loves her sister. What's her sister's name? The blonde one?
Yeah, I don't think she's a pick-me girl at all.
She's like not jealous of her sister at all. She's like, I can see why people like her, and you know, she's very beautiful. But
when I say normal everyday girl, I definitely am not even talking about in the human realm. I'm talking about in the realms of magic and fantasy. Like, I'm talking about a human girl just doing her normal everyday things. Like, she works at a hat shop.
Oh, I know. It's just you had brought up the cliche, and I do think that's a really good thing to point out, that in a lot of fantasy stories that they try to make this plain girl that nobody likes, but all of a sudden this beautiful magical man who's the most beautiful man in the world likes her. And I think that's fine. I'm not saying a man wouldn't like a plain woman. I'm just saying it definitely seems like it's geared towards an audience of women who tend to have a hate for women who can express themselves or who are confident in themselves.
Yeah.
When I think both kinds of women are just as beautiful. There's just as much like value in either of those kinds of women. If you want to be a more like, homebody or like dress like a little bit more humbly or however you would describe it, chiller, not as extravagant.
As long as you're doing it because it's like innately you, and like that's how
you're
you're confident.
And don't hate on those girls that like want to dress up the way they want to dress up, coming from Leo Rising.
You're making a good point that Sophie's comfortable with that.
She's so comfortable with it. She does not look at her sister, and she's not like, I'm jealous. She's like,
she does have self-conscious issues, but it's not pick me.
Yes, it has to do with just like valuing her as an individual. She's like, I don't want to wear sparkly dresses. I don't want to wear a big ass fancy hat, and not because I think I'm better than other people, just because that's not who Sophie is, Mm-hmm. And I do really like that about her. It's one of the only times I've seen that trope used that it actually doesn't align with the pick me girl thing. I feel like she's not a pick me girl,
Yeah, I remember being a kid seeing Howl's Moving Castle from a distance, not knowing it was a romance at all. All I had seen about it is that this, beautiful woman gets transformed into this old lady, and I, for some reason as a kid, that really freaked me out. I was like, that sounds like a scary story. I was like, what? And then when you watch it, she's like, holy shit, I'm old. And then she's like, dang, well, let's go freaking figure this out. And then the only complaint she really has is she's like, my back hurts. But she's like,
my bones hurt.
Yeah, she really don't give a shit.
I think I'm glad that you guys showed me Spirited Away first. I think if I would have watched Howl's and she would have turned to an old lady and didn't question it, I would have been very confused. I'd be like, what is this film I'm watching? That was my first experience watching Ghibli movies. Like, I didn't know that was the Ghibli movie. Like, that's the concept. Like, it is the quirky, weird stuff.
Spirited Away is such a great way just to break the ice. It's such weird shit happening.
And I've seen half of Spirited Away, and I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm watching, but I'm watching it. And then you guys showed it to me, I was like, oh, it's like this quirky art style, like the things that happen, like you don't question it. So like when I watch House, I was like, I'm not questioning the fact that she's now an old lady and is accepting it.
I don't like people when they watch a Studio Ghibli movie, they take it almost too seriously, as well as I think Hollywood has a very specific way of storytelling, and it's worked for a long time, but to have a narrow-minded point of view about the fucking point of certain scenes, I do think that shit's important, but I feel like we go along the same fucking storyline in the same way of telling a story.
The relevance is not that she's old. The relevance is that he still appreciates her for how she is, even though she's old.
I almost feel like when people critique Studio Ghibli movies specifically too harshly, I think it's low-key a little bit racist, because you're not even no, hear me out. I think
agree.
You're being way too critical about that way of telling the story, which is just a very unique artistic way. Animation doesn't have to be save the cat every time, in my opinion. It can just be art, and it can still tell a story and move you.
I think people just put logic into it too much.
Yeah.
I think people follow the stupid ass hero's journey that we've seen in all Western media over and over and over again, and they're like, why don't I get to know exactly why there are frog men that speak at Spirited Away? Because fuck off, there are. That's why.
Exactly, but the people want it.
Why are there soot men? Soot little sprites? Because there are. Yeah. And they're cute. And they have a job to do, and that was their purpose.
And it's cool, too, when you watch a movie, you don't know why, and it's not explained, but then, that, one, it leaves mysteriousness, and two, there are actually a lot of reasons and lore and shit, but, we don't have to tell you in the story.
Yeah, there still can be lore, but I think
not everything has to be explained.
Americans get really, hooked on, they get stuck on the fact of, what kind of story is this if there is not, Marvel-esque, a person that comes from poverty who learns they have an innate ability and then learns that there's a bigger threat that they have to defeat. That is such a boring way.
And then they rise again, and then
it's so, you always know what's going to happen. You always know what's going to happen,
And I was watching a clip of an interview from James Cameron talking about Avatar, and everybody was telling him that the flight scene where the Jake Sully and, is it Neytiri? What's her name?
Neytiri.
Yeah, they fall in love during that flight scene, and they're like, okay, cool, we get it, they fell in love. The scene's still too long. It was a couple minutes straight, and he's like, I don't care. People want to see this. People want
to experience their life. They want to sit down and watch a sunset.
Watch this beautiful, world that was created, these creatures that were created. We just want to enjoy it. I don't have to have a fucking reason for everything. And I think that was just a side gripe. We can get back to talking about Howl's Moving Castle, but when people, you said, you watched it for the first time, Studio Ghibli movies, and realize that, there's no point in questioning it because, that's just what it is. And when people critique it too much and they're like, well, the plot don't make sense, the characters, it's just
Like at the end of the day, it does make sense if you just fucking watch the movie and consume it. You don't have to question it from the start. Like I was just like, she's an old lady, and kids was like, yeah, she's an old lady. I was like, okay, let's keep going. Like obviously she's going to not be an old lady at one point. I will continue to watch the movie.
Or she doesn't want to be.
So that was a long side tangent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's a long side tangent, but I feel very passionate about it.
My first intro of Howl's was when we did our glass painting. You brought over like 3 different images of Howl's, and I was like, who is this man? Because I had like one with him with like one color hair, one from the blonde. I was like, you're like, these are the same people. Because like the one was literally like from the beginning of the movie, the other was from the end of the movie. So we had like brown hair, blonde hair, and then we had the gray hair and the blue hair. And I was like, what is happening? And you did the one of them at the intro where they're flying, and that scene, which you told me at the time, is like so adorable, so magical. He's just like floating in the air with her.
The way he's holding her.
The way they're floating. Back to my first point I was bringing up, like, you know, obviously, like, and you didn't think I meant pick me, but I'm talking about like a non-magical girl. You know, she's going about her everyday life and meets a very mystical, beautiful.
That's how I expect myself to fall in love.
Man, like,
me too.
And he floats you away. He takes you away floats you away, sends you off on your day. Like, have a nice day. Like, you know, see you later. Like, kind of vibes. And she's just like
dumbfounded.
Yeah, stars in her eyes. Like, fuck.
Me too, bitch. If I was her.
Yeah.
How'd you feel when you first saw that, Kenzie? As the one that introduced us?
First of all, I was in your dorm room. And Carrie had put on that movie, and apparently they really liked that movie. And
I didn't watch it with you the first time, by the way.
I know. Okay. I'm telling you, when I first just saw a glimpse of it, and it was that scene specifically is when I first saw the movie. I hadn't seen the whole movie. Preface, guys, I didn't watch it that night. I had places to go. I had homework to do the night before, so I was not able to stay and watch this movie. But I'm like about to leave, and I see Carrie put on this movie, and it is the scene where they just float up really high in the air. Wait, what was it? Yeah, because he was getting them out of there. Yeah, he's getting them away from, you know, the slime ball crazy bitches. And he, like, projected them into the sky, and all of a sudden they're, like, floating down as if they had, like, an air balloon tied to them. Like, they look like they're floating, obviously.
Like,
I'm saying, like, so light.
Like, it wasn't like a parachute. It wasn't a parachute. Like, it was light. Yeah, a higher balloon.
Feather, dude. And, like, you can see, like, the light air pushing up against his jacket. Not intense, not like they're falling. And, like, the way he was holding her hands, like, lightly, like, not even holding her, he was guiding her, bitch. And she's, like, just so, like, amazed that she's floating. But the way he's looking at her and the sound of his voice, how he's talking to her, I was swept off my feet by a fake man. And I said, what the fuck is this? I was like, please don't tell me this is a short you found on YouTube or some little thing somebody made just for fun that absolutely stole my heart away. And Carrie was like, no, this is a movie. This House Moving Castle.
You're like, I'm coming back to borrow this bitch from you.
I'm borrowing this shit. I'm watching this, and it's all I thought about until I watched the movie, and then that's all I thought about for about 3 months. Was the movie, but yeah, that scene itself, I felt like I had physically been brought up in the air with her.
So fucking
and
beautiful.
I know Miyazaki is a man, but that shit looked like it was written by a woman. The way it was directed, and the way whoever chose Christian Bale to be speaking as Howl, you know?
Christian Bale's a nice choice.
I think that's like, you know, you're pointing out all the delicate choices that were made in the chemistry building for that romance. Whereas, like, you know, we see in a lot of, like, we like to joke about, you know, sometimes my taste in romance. I'm like, dang, I just want to get to the good parts, and y'all are like, slow down, enjoy it.
Damn slow
burn. And I
burn.
think that the fact that it's kind of an all-audience kind of romance, you know, might be one of the reasons why he, you know, had those tastes, but, like, he still had them. He still had the power to write that.
Mm-hmm.
I like how after she was an old lady, she was just like, okay, well, I will get up and go on my mission. She literally woke her ass up and was like, pack my bag, go find Howl. That's what I gotta do.
She went so far
there were
out
no
there.
questions asked. She was just like, okay, yes, this is what we gotta do now.
Yeah, she was an old lady with a mission. Knock, bitch.
Yeah, she knew that, like, the reason why she was old was Howl's doing, because the old lady said something about Howl.
Yeah.
Sorry, I watched it recently, and
the old lady was like, he will be mine. I'm kidding.
Or was she after the Witch of the Waste? Like,
the Witch of the Waste popped on in and was like, basically she had said, you're fucking around with Howl and you're not allowed to have him.
Yeah.
Like, she said it pretty shortly, too. She didn't go into detail. And Sophie was like, didn't even say anything about Howl. She's like, what? And she's like, I thought the door was locked. And then all of a sudden, the witch was like, bam, you're old as fuck.
Yes.
And then she slithered away and said, ha 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 ha.
So I'm talking about, like when Sophie set out, she didn't say, I'm looking for the witch. She said, I'm looking for Howl.
I'm looking for Howl.
Really?
Yeah, she went straight to Howl's house.
She said, why the fuck am I an old lady?
Yeah.
Like, what'd you do that to me for?
That little old kid, the old kid was like,
yeah. So then
hello,
she
madam.
finds, we're kind of telling a synopsis, but it's kind of funny that way too. She finds Turnip Man.
She didn't find Turnip Man yet, did she?
Yeah, she
Oh,
did.
you're right.
Fuck you. Hold on.
No,
She was
for
looking
some
for a
reason
walking
I wasn't picturing the moving castle. I was picturing the building
You
in
fast
the city.
forward.
I apologize.
She went to the waste, in case you guys didn't know.
Yeah.
She was in the direction of the waste, because they said that's where the witches and wizards are. Don't you remember the man at his house? He's like, don't go there. That's where the witches and wizards are, ma'am. Don't go to the waste. You'll never come back. And she's like, bye. And she's like on the back of that cart.
Yep.
They take her to the waste.
She's like, this is as far as I'll go. Like,
and
then
she
starts
finds
walking.
Turnip Head. Because she picks him up, and it's some magic ass stick.
I remember being
falling
so annoyed
around.
by the character. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Then he
with
found
this
her a cane.
Scarecrow?
Help the old lady out. I was like, how nice of you.
And then she's like, can you find me a place to sleep? And he's like,
And he
I'll be right
bounced
back.
away.
And he brings the fucking castle to her somehow.
Yeah, she was, but she didn't know when she was coming back, so she got up and she started walking. She's like, well, hopefully he brings something. If he doesn't, I gotta I gotta keep making progress.
Mm-hmm.
So she's walking up the hill, and he pulls up with the castle, and she's like, what the fuck is this thing? This chicken ass looking castle, chicken legs, and
Chicken frog looking motherfucker castle.
yeah, frog looking motherfucker, yeah, and hops on in, and that's when she meets Calcifer.
She's like, I guess this is enough.
Mm-hmm. She's like, bye, Turnip Head. Sorry about that. See you later. That's when we don't see Turnip Head for a while. And she walks in, meets Calcifer. Calcifer's got attitude problems. And he's got to fight about everything.
Kids
that
like,
fire sign
who would
energy.
I be in House Moving Castle, Howl or Sophie? We're all like,
Calcifer.
I would be Calcifer.
Who's also Howl.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Why would you...
Actually,
Hold
he's
on,
not...
for a movie.
He's
Why
not
would you...
Howl. He's just holding Howl's heart.
He is Howl. Yeah.
No, he's not.
He is Howl's heart.
He's holding his heart.
I
So
thought
when
he
the
was
heart-
his heart.
No. Let me tell you guys. Okay. Calcifer is a star.
Yeah.
And he was a falling star about to die.
Mm-hmm.
And Howl was like, I will be a vessel for you and make sure that you don't die if you take my feelings away from me. And Calcifer was like, okay. So he swallows the star. And Calcifer holds his heart. He's the keeper of his heart.
I
so
think
that
in a sense that you could still say Calcifer is a part of Howl then, because his heart is what's keeping him alive.
Well, no, the heart is what's keeping Howl alive, not
the star was in
Calcifer.
the sky.
Calcifer's just holding it.
problem.
Like, Calcifer's like, think of like a dragon watching gold. Like, he's not the gold, he just watches the gold so no one steals it or fucks with it, okay? So then, at the end, we're already fast forwarding, but I have to explain this to you guys. At the end, when he takes his heart back, well, Calcifer's allowed to leave because he's not in charge of the heart anymore.
Yeah.
Bam, he gets to survive as a star, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, because Ghibli likes to fuck with us, Calcifer himself was not able to save himself when he's falling from the sky. You know, like he needed something to help him, and Howl happened to be there and was like, "Yeah, but I like deals."
He's like, I don't need these emotions anyways. Take them.
He's like, "I got a problem. You got a problem. Let's help each other." Mm-hmm. And so he basically kind of made Calcifer in charge. Like he forced him to take his heart so that he didn't have to deal with it. Wow. I would say that Calcifer did slightly keep him alive by because you can't just survive without your heart. I think it was the symbolism, really, is what they were trying to say.
Yeah.
Is that Calcifer...
He's like, if I die, Howl
like
dies.
the connection of them.
Yeah, because he is holding his heart, so essentially he's letting Howl live without a heart in his body around while he holds it. So if you killed Calcifer, you weren't really killing Calcifer. You would be destroying the vessel that is holding Howl's heart.
Yeah. Think
of it as like an incubator. Like you turn the incubator off, shit's not warm anymore.
I have a question.
Eggs die.
How? This is a dumb one. So like, if I don't know the answer, please don't roast me. Shut up, Ryan. If he doesn't have his heart in him, how does he fall in love with Sophie?
Okay, I think the whole point was that Howl thought, I can just simply remove my emotions and I will never feel them. Think about how people repress their emotions. If I repress my emotions, I will never have to deal with them. But when your emotions are brought to the surface and you have no choice, aka just because Calcifer had his heart doesn't mean that he couldn't ever have feelings for Sophie. It's just that he was choosing to repress his feelings for things, right? Like, let's say for 10 years you repress that, family member died. Well, when you choose to open up your heart again and have to, address that, you're going to feel the pain that you ran away from for 10 years.
Also, I just came up with a little theory, too, that, Calcifer did grow fond of Sophie. He's like, look, she left this wood for me.
People, yes,
yeah,
that's
so,
what that
like,
means. Yeah, people have said that. It's like proven that since he has his heart, he obviously holds his feelings. He knows his feelings. So
it's like, isn't this great?
He's trying to convince him, like, we should keep her around. Remember, like, that's his own heart kind of speaking through Calcifer.
But Calcifer wanted nothing to do with Sophie.
At first?
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Who let her in here? You just walk in here? You just acting like you
and
own
they
this
made
place?
a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
The thing about Studio Ghibli is you don't get to know every rule, right? So I could totally see that because he holds his heart and because magic's weird, that he probably essentially can, feel Howl's emotions or, like, relay some of Howl's real emotions because he's the one holding the heart. That makes sense to me. It's kind of like literally giving somebody your emotions and being like, I don't want to deal with this anymore, so you feel the feelings and don't tell me about them.
Often when Howl was, like, frustrated, it, like, was reflected in the imagery of Calcifer. I'd like to talk about the scene when Howl showed up with his orange hair and how devastated he was. I remember I was like, Kinsey, he looks good. He still looks so good with the orange hair. Why is he... The man just gave up on his life. It's literally Kinsey when she, like, can't put on a good outfit, or, like, if she was to fuck up her hair or her makeup or anything. He is like, I will just die. I will simply melt away because my hair looks like garbage and I'm ugly, and there's no point of living now that I'm ugly.
The undertone of this movie and the romance story is that, like, first of all, from the beginning, Sophie has insecurities, and then when he has that breakdown, like, I'm not beautiful anymore, I don't deserve beautiful things, and I might as well just not live. Like, it's this, almost fear of, one another because they are fearing that they're not good enough for one another. Like, I feel like that's one of the underlying storytelling points.
It's so romantic. And they're so patient with each other. Because I don't think that's a fear that somebody should be villainized for, is not feeling good enough. And maybe running away from it and not feeling good enough. Because if you know where those feelings are coming from, why can't you empathize with that person? Why, like, they're not leaving you or not feeling good enough for themselves because they don't want you. You know what I'm saying?
Have you ever had a crush on someone and you never made the shot because you didn't feel good enough?
Yeah, or you were very afraid of being rejected because you were like, I would never reject you. There's so much about you that I love.
But you idolize them so much and you're like, oh my god, you're so
I would
great,
never do that.
I'm not.
Can't relate.
You would never be afraid of telling somebody that you like them?
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
It's wild.
That's wild that y'all have these insecurities, huh?
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, also, I do think there's a level of, like, when this is a really immature love, where there's possessiveness with love, where they're like, I have to have this person. Because I think, you're like, oh, well, that's proof that they love me. When real love is like, I love myself to know that I'm deserving of your love, but I also love myself to know that you are not an object. You're not something I can keep or hold or tell what to do. And if you didn't want to be with me, I could still love you for who you are.
Real life people don't fucking get that.
It's like, if you're not a hopeless romantic and, like, you didn't grow up reading, like, fan fiction or just, like, rom-com stuff, like, you're not really gonna get it. Or if you're an air sign, you're not really gonna
or if you're an air sign, you will be perpetually a whore.
Yeah, so it's like, you don't really get it. But, like, it's like, that's what people want. They want, like, that genuineness of, like, a soul connection, not just, like...
So then we get to the fucking...
Oh, wait, before we skip to that, the scene where Sophie's asleep and Hal comes up and, like, says goodnight to her, and he's, like, all gentle and sweet with her.
He's just such a kind man.
Oh, my God.
He's so soft,
it's
he's
like,
so feminine.
because Hal's, like, he has to kind of guard up the whole time. You know, he's heartless, basically. But there's those moments where he is so genuine, such a sweet soul. And that moment right there, I remember you telling me, you were like, that's when you explained the whole, like, theory about, like, him seeing through the magic. I was like, because at first I was like, he loves her, and she's an old-ass lady. And you're like, yeah, but he can see through it. I was like, oh,
think
my
about this,
God.
think about this. So her insecurities with her, the magic that was cast on her, the curse, is shown to the world, right? She's shown as an ugly old woman, right? Obviously, she's not actually an ugly old woman. It represents, and it's been said in the movie, it represents her insecurities.
Yeah.
She will stay an old woman until she recognizes that she is beautiful, not based off of other people's standards, right?
Yeah.
Howl does the opposite. He covers himself up in beauty, and his true sense of self is that monster, that bird that he runs away from, that Sophie is so obviously accepting of him.
Yeah, we forgot the elephant in the room. That bird was like the elephant in the room, because I was like, we gonna talk about that? And you were like, hold on. I was like, wait.
Yeah, so that's what that represents. Is like they both have things about them that they're not proud of, but they show it in different ways. Howl represses it.
Yeah.
She, like, almost blatantly cries about it. She doesn't actually cry, but she's like, I'm never
At one point,
gonna...
she does cry about it.
I know she does. But I'm saying, like, because her confidence is not high, because there is no confidence,
yeah,
it's shown. he has such fake confidence that he covers himself with it. But they both have self-image issues, like self-confidence issues.
I mean, I think I'd cry too if I turned into a bird.
So like he, when she's sleeping and he sees her, he's just like, "You're so beautiful. You're such a great person. You don't even know."
Mm-hmm.
When she sees him as a bird, she's like, "You don't need to be perfect to be loved." You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's the exact same dichotomy of each other, but they express it in different ways,
and
it's so cute.
That's a good fucking scene to bring up, by the way, because like mine actually happens right after that.
It's like making it known that he's like, I've been through that, and I want you to know that's okay. You know?
I know. It's like an understanding, a mutual understanding, but neither when the other is conscious.
It's like even just like in the present world, like like you're like, I've had a hard upbringing, right? I could talk to you about that same fucking situation.
Yeah.
It's like I can relate to you, but like maybe we're too emotional about it, so you just talk about it subtly. You're like,
yeah, I just think they both do it. Sorry, I just think they both do that for each other. I think it's so sweet, but they do so subtle because they're both so ashamed of their own pain that literally accurately depicts the others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we have the internal romance conflict. Now we have the external war and the obligation that Howl is under to go serve the royal family.
Sorry, that was such a jump. That was so funny.
No, but here's the thing.
But you
gotta
put, because it was like an elephant in the room. Like you're like watching this cute romance, and then all of a sudden there's war happening.
He's like,
I forgot that there was
family.
legit
I have
bombs.
to show up. I'm too afraid to go. And when Sophie said that she'd go for him, he was so happy. He's like, "You're gonna do that for me?" And when he went, he ended up going there. It was funny because he was dressed as the general.
Bro, wait, you're skipping the dog walking up the stairs.
Well,
that was
real quick, let me finish this part. Like, he couldn't have gone alone. He had to have Sophie there because she supported him and kept him together and kept him from falling apart and getting taken from this woman. Yes. Okay, we can go back to the dog.
I remember watching. I was like, "Is Howl the dog?" And you guys were saying, "I was like, the dog's Howl, right?" And you guys were like, "No." I was like, "Why is the dog so important? Like, is it Howl? Like, Howl's secretly there as the dog, right?" And
She's
you guys were like, "No."
Literally talking to him like he's Howl.
This dog is important. I don't know what it is, but like something's up with the dog.
Because she was talking to him. She thought it was Howl, but it was actually just.
And then the Witch of the Weast pulls up. She's like, "Oh, hello, you ugly hag."
The Witch of the Weast.
Witch of the Weast pulls up in her little, box carriage, and she's like,
Ew, that
hanging
scene
out with
when the slimes were like falling, dragging her up there, like when they were holding her and they were
that
like,
whole scene's gross.
And then the bitch had to get up the stairs and her 20 chins came out.
She walks up and she's like,
she's tired.
She's like, "How's my boy Howl?"
Can we talk about how Sophie helped her up the stairs?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
Wait, so didn't no magic was allowed?
Yeah.
And she still looked like, okay, because this is the funny thing, is that he does this weird transition where when she's walking up the stairs, she does already look old and gross. And I thought maybe it was because the magic was wearing off of her because they don't allow magic.
That's what I thought it was.
But then, remember when the witch takes all of her magic away, she makes her even older? So I think it was just like a gradual transition of this fake, young, sexy woman that she tries to be.
Well, yeah,
she's already losing her magic as she's walking up the stairs, and then, it was the final thing.
I think that's like
if
true
you,
self
if
without
you
magic.
take on makeup and then walk up a mile of stairs, you're going to sweat it off.
But then she took all her magic away and made her look even older than she really is.
Oh, well, okay, here's my theory. Howl thought she was a beautiful woman. It turns out she's not. And so I think her true self is that even older woman, but I think she uses the magic. She's like, it's almost like Mother Gothel, but like, how Mother Gothel doesn't look like a 20-year-old? She almost looks like a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, I think that my theory with it is that's as young as she can make herself look. And Howl saw through it. He's like, so I think she's just like glamour. And then when she took the magic away, it's not that she made her even older.
She did say the old lady said that this was her true self. She's like, I just took away what the magic she doesn't have anymore. So I actually agree with you with a very similar Mother Gothel, esque thing. Mm-hmm. That's the youngest she could make herself with magic, and then as her magic was being taken away from her, it was getting closer and closer to her true age of who she really is.
Mm-hmm. So we see a few clips from the war and the battles, but like it was all over that prince. I was like, what was going on again? It was all over the Lost Prince.
Can we talk about when they go talk to the fucking High Witcher?
Yeah.
The Queen? When she pulls out them stars that start dancing in a circle. I was like, I was scared. I was like, what the fuck? The first time I watched it, I was like, they good? They bad?
People get tattoos in that scene, and I'm like, that scene was freaky. Why you get I mean, it's cute. It's a nice, subtle, you don't know what it is, kind of tattoo.
And they're cute little stars. That's why I was so conflicted. I was like, you're singing scary. You're kind of cute. But now you're dancing demonically, and I'm scared.
Girl, I thought it was funny because like the little general guy shows up, behind Sophie, and then she calls in the other general guy, and then she's like, "How's it going, Howl?" And he's like, "I reported just like you said I was supposed to." Puts his arm around Sophie.
Oh yeah.
It was funny, and then Sophie's like, "That dog is not you."
She was so shocked. She was like,
"Gosh." But yeah, so then we cut back and they're like in that war scene where they're at a new place, like the castle.
So
moves.
actually, he stays behind to trail off the guards. Send Sophie with the ring back to the castle. I think after that it's the climax. Yeah.
Yeah, like the castle moves.
So the castle's moving. And the thing is, she's freaking out. She's like, we have to help Howl because he's in danger. He's not going to survive. He really wasn't going to survive. Like, that bitch was totally
die. He gave her the flowers. He gave her the fucking flower field.
Okay, before the climax, he was trying to show her, like, you could stay here, you'd be safe. I made this extra little...
Why do I have this feeling that you're going to go away and never come back? That's when that was.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because he was going to be a permanent bird.
Or he's gonna die, either way. Basically, no more Howl. Bye-bye, Howl. And she was like, don't leave, please. Like, I can help you, Howl, please. Right. Anyways, he ends up leaving because he said, I have shit to do anyways. That freaks her the fuck out. Oh, wait, before he leaves, he drops her off. He's like, okay, if you guys don't feel safe because there's not enough magic here, let's go station the castle so that it's not moving. They bring it to the the hat shop.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, now stay here. It's not safe to leave. They have their little kiss, and he's got little feather wings and all that shit, and he leaves. And she's like, this fucking bitch, I can't do that. So then, she cuts her hair off.
Gives it Howl.
Gives it to Calcifer.
Sorry, it's the same thing. Wait, actually, no, what happened is they already tried to... What happened? The castle fell apart the first time, and then the second time she's like, "Can you get this to move?" And he was like, "I can't get this to move. I need something." And she's like, "What about?" He's like, "One of your eyes will work."
What I was saying though is, so Howl had stationed it at that that hat shop, right? And she's like, "No, we still need to help him because they were being attacked by all those like monster things and all that shit." So she's like, "Calcifer, what do I need to get you to get us the fuck out of here? Because bombs were falling and all that shit." And Calcifer's like, "Bitch, I need a sacrifice, bitch." Well, actually, before that, he had gotten up on his legs and they were walking, but he still wasn't strong enough. So then that's when she gave him the hair.
Okay.
And it was powerful enough, but then the witch took... Remember, he was all like, "You're so powerful enough." And then the old wicked witch of the waste...
She was just there.
She's like,
"How's heart?" And she picks it up, and she's like, "Bitch, give it back!" Like, someone just give it back to Heart. And the witch was like, "No!" And she's on fire. She's on fire holding his heart. She's like, "Ah!"
She's like, "I finally got his heart."
But she's like also in pain. So
she got her jiggly, wrinkly ass like
whole castle falls apart and they fall down the ravine. And some random ass hole pops out of nowhere when Sophie gets up from the ground and she's sad as fuck because the castle's falling apart. She goes in that hole and that's when she time travels and sees baby Howl.
Yes.
In the hole, eating the heart scene and all that stuff.
Yes.
And she's like, "Come find me."
And then that is when they make, I think, like a 2-legged version because they had like a medium-sized version at first, and he was holding like it was like a very small version of the castle. They literally had like a 2.
Yeah, like just enough to get them to move the door.
Oh, is that when she gives him her hair?
So the big castle falls apart, or gets bombed, whatever the fuck it was, and then he's like, "I can't do anything with this shit," like Sophie, and that's when the hair happened. Medium-sized version, the witch thing happened. And then they make like a little 2-legged version.
Oh, but how does she get to... Howl comes over. Okay, so the 2-legged version is currently walking around.
Yeah. And it's like janky. She's like walking on it.
She's in the past. She comes out of the door. And she sees Howl there as a bird when she comes out of that black pole after seeing that, past thing. And Howl's sitting there like a weird 1-legged bird. All
like dying.
You remember that? Yeah. And she's like, "Howl, I know how to help you. Oh my gosh, I wish I was here sooner." She gives him a kiss on his dead bird face, and he flies away with her. She's standing on his foot. He brings her to 2-legged house. Remember? He drops her off there.
Tournament's
passes
like there.
out as a bird. And then she's like, "I know how to help you." She's like, "Miss Bitch, give me that heart right the fuck now."
Literally.
And the witch was like, "No." And she was like, "I don't want to give it to you." And she's like, please, don't you want to help Howl? Bitch, he's dying. And she's like, and she gives her the heart, and then Miss Sophie goes, slaps that heart in him, and he
she's like, you're gonna have to deal with all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
All these emotions you can run away from.
But remember, the thing falls apart, by the way, at the last moment when she put the heart in, and they're like, they fall and they land on like this big sheet of wood that they were already sitting on, like in a crack. Luckily, they don't fall to their death.
She's like crying.
Yeah, and she's like, oh my god, how? And then Mr. Turnip Man
pops in.
Oh my god.
One of us.
Guys, I need that alarm to remind me to take the trash out. Like, fuck you guys. But yeah, like everything's fine. He's alive. But then Mr. Turnip Man, like, why?
Oh, she kisses Mr. Turnip Man, and he's like, I've been waiting for the love of my life to kiss me.
That's my favorite part of the movie, because you think that you're like, oh, well, that's like clearly her, but like that bitch don't want him.
Yeah,
she said,
that bitch don't want him.
It's such a fucking like the fairy tale where
he
she
starts
kisses
saying
him and,
shit.
Yeah,
he's like, I was in love, and she turns around and kisses Al.
That's my favorite part, because you're thinking like the classic movie, like, oh, you kiss me, you guys fall in love, but like she's already in love, dude.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'm going to go home and tell father to stop the silly war that's about me being lost.
Yeah. And I don't know how he turned into Turnip Head.
He was under a curse.
Yeah.
From who, though?
From the other side, the people they were at war at.
I don't
Somebody.
Who
did that? We'll have to look it up.
I'll look it up.
It's so funny, though, because, like, yeah, you're having this whole dramatic scene. You're, like, crying with Sophie. And then she's, like, he's alive. And she's happy. And she just casually kisses him. And that man's just there the whole time. Like, the whole fucking movie, he randomly shows up at any given moment. So it's just funny that, like, he actually was relevant at the end of the film.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. And the funny that he was, like, the key to why the war was happening.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know jack shit about that war till that man popped up.
Like, in another universe, like, she wouldn't have found the castle, and maybe she would have just, like, hung out with Turnip Man for a while, and then that would have been her story. She would have ended up with Turnip Man.
Yeah, R.I.P. Because Turnip Man looked like a Twinkie. Like a blonde
He was
Twinkie.
drawn so funky.
Funky. And I also think it's funny is that, like, the love interest she was supposed to end up with was, like, a prince, a nice guy, the guy that's only helped her.
Yeah, that's the cliche. You know, the sister, the boring sister ends up with the prince.
Yeah, but she actually ended up technically with a monster, like somebody who was had a lot of fucking
trauma. Who was, like you said, the same as her, insecure, talked about, in the same sense that she was also this insecure, talked about at the time. They were like, Sophie's the weird quiet girl when her sister's rich and successful. And Howl was the talk of the town. This, like, ooh, he's too good for anyone, probably because he hates himself.
One of my favorite things about the movie, besides all of it, is the color. I am so obsessed with their original color palettes as well as their color palettes they get at the end when they switch. Like, she's got silver hair and he's got black hair, and their outfit colors change. Like, I feel like a lot of movies that try to do that, it'll feel forced, or maybe they're just trying to show like death and rebirth and stuff like that. But like their outfit choices reflect who they truly feel like they become, or that they accept that they are, is what I mean. Really, like, Sophie isn't a bland person. Also, it's also said that Sophie is a witch, which is why
she could pick up Calcifer.
Why she can pick up Calcifer, why she can do magic, stuff like that. Like, many of the things that she did that normal human wouldn't be able to do in the movie. But
yeah, they literally said they're like, if you take Calcifer out of the moving castle, like, he'll die.
And it didn't.
And Sophie's just out here chilling with him in his hand.
She's gotta be some sort of witch, you know?
Yeah, that would make sense.
But I loved how her hair turned silver and how you said it looked like starlight or something like that. Because I feel like every person is so unique. I truly think that. I'm sure you guys think that too. But like, it was so sad that Sophie felt like she was so bland, that there was nothing special about her when there's something special about everybody. And that hair color change and cutting it short and everything, I feel like really reflected, like, you are unique, you are different. I mean, besides like appearance wise, I'm just saying, like, it was a great way of like showing it physically as a symbol, you know.
Did you ever read the books?
I tried to read the books.
There's technically a sequel.
Yeah, The Castle in the Sky. Well, I tried to read the first book. I only got like a fourth way through. I didn't really like it. I feel like I had to keep reading if I'm going to like it.
Sometimes you gotta get through that little hiccup.
Prince Justin, it isn't specified really in the movie how he was under a spell. I'm skimming through the book answer, and it's very long, convoluted, and it's like different, almost as if like maybe he was transformed into other things like dogs and stuff. I wasn't paying attention, so I'm sorry, podcast, if like I'm saying the book version wrong, but like I guess the movie version is loosely inspired by the fact that he was transformed into stuff in the book, but it just said he was under a spell.
My impression was always that like he got cursed either maybe like think of how many witches there are. The Wicked Witch of the Waste, whatever, cursed Sophie. Maybe there was a witch that he just accidentally did wrong, and they were like.
In the book, it specified he was looking for Wizard Solomon, and he kept like making deals with wizards and kept getting.
What an idiot! Who makes deals with wizards multiple?
And then like there's different weird, but it didn't say that she turned him into a scarecrow. So then I just stopped reading because I'm like,
why would you ever make multiple deals with multiple witches and wizards?
Yeah, if they're not pulling through, maybe you should.
That sounds so dangerous.
Yeah.
Same.
Well, would you guys share it again? Even though we did talk a ton about this movie, and I didn't say everything that made me happy and how much I love it, but I'm sure the listeners understand how much I love it. Would you share it again?
I really would. I tried telling Liza, my friend who doesn't like animation at all, like not even animation, she doesn't like any type of animation. I was like, I promise you will like it, and she's like, I don't know, I'm going to force her to watch it one day. I think anyone who likes like genuine romance would really like this movie.
Yeah, any hopeless romantics I would share it with. If I'm just showing people anime in general and like maybe they don't give me romantic vibes, I would probably pick a different Studio Ghibli movie to introduce them. I
would love
first,
to show Spirited Away to any single person in the whole wide world, but I know that people wouldn't like it.
Would you share this movie? Not if you're going to share it first or anything like that. Like, is this movie you share?
I think with people who would appreciate it, I feel like normie people that don't get it or don't like the pacing. Nah.
I would argue that Studio Ghibli movies can be shown to quote unquote normie people.
I agree. I mean,
it's like the least
people
anime.
I know who are normies watch them and they like them. And
I think Studio Ghibli's made for the normie audience.
Yeah, I think Howl's Moving Castle is top 3 that you should show to normies.
I actually,
in my opinion.
What's the other ones?
Spirited Away, and I would say I fucking don't like Totoro. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna say Ponyo.
I think that Spirited Away would be iffy with the normie. I think it's a lot happens. It's very confusing, but no,
but
actually,
it has a more it has a more direct storyline. If you're gonna watch Kiki's Delivery Service as a normie, don't waste your time.
Spirited Away won
an
Oscar or was nominated or something like that. I'm not a fucking movie buff to remember who won Oscars.
I think it was the first, I think it was
animated. Yeah. The thing about House Moving Castle though, and why I wouldn't recommend it to every normie, is I've heard people watch it and they're confused. They're like, "How come Sophie's like insecure 1 second, and then when she's an old woman, she automatically?"
I think people would question any Ghibli movies like that.
Hyper-criticize it, and I'm like,
why she's confident as an old woman? Because no one's looking at her.
Yeah,
she feels happy about that. She feels like, as a young woman, if she's not, dressing a certain way or acting a certain way, that people are gonna watch her and it makes her feel uncomfortable. As an old woman, she's comfy because no one's looking at her.
My point is that same tangent we had earlier is that I feel like some people are just too hypercritical about Studio Ghibli movies, so I'm very selective with who I choose to share them with.
But I would argue that for you to say like Spirited Away would be the first one to show. I would say that Spirited Away could be more harder to understand or to like break down than House, because so much happens in Spirited Away that doesn't necessarily like innately make sense.
Yes, like the fucking train.
Like literally so much of the train depicts like there's a lot to Spirited Away. I think that would be more confusing than House.
I never brought up like one or the other. Like my answer was with House Moving Castle, but I would still.
No, but I think earlier you said I would show Spirited Away first, and that's why I was like, I think that I would argue that that's more confusing.
Yeah, because I've heard lots of people be like, "Oh, well, why can't people get tickets to the train? And where does the train go? And why does it never tell you?"
Why does No Face do this? Yeah.
Yeah, like who the fuck is No Face, and why is he so important if we don't get to know anything about him? Like I've heard a lot of people have even more questions about Spirited Away, but they think it's so cool and bright and colored that I feel like that's why it's still cool to show people, because the overall message at the end of that one was she got with her parents. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And I guess you didn't have to know all the secrets, but I feel like House Moving Castle answers a lot more questions than
I would agree.
Like you get to find out why there was even a war.
Yep. Like you get to find out how like that resolution happens. Like the prince goes back. But I mean, it's an overall yes. I would share it with people. It's it is an anime, and I already get selective with who I introduce anime. Like I don't think you're an anime person or would appreciate anime in general. Like I don't recommend it to everybody. Just my closest friends who share very similar hyperfixation.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What about you, Kizzy?
I share it. I mean, I think in general, like you said about anime, I'm very particular about who I share it to, and it's not because it's not good. It's because a lot of people are racist about anime. They really are. And it upsets me, and I'm not going to waste my time with people who think that way. I'm not going to convince them. But
I would argue that Ghibli's like an Americanized anime.
Oh, something that is a little easier for people like fucking racist Americans to digest, like to get a step towards. But yeah, I would show House Moving Castle. I would even recommend it to somebody who hadn't watched anime if they are a romance person.
Yeah.
I'd be like, dude, if you are just in for a fixin', and you haven't seen anything lately.
I've told
good,
Liza, I was like, you need to watch
pull it
House,
up.
you need to watch Your Name. Sorry, but Your Hopeless Romantic, watch these films.
And I'm sure you don't got
I
nothing.
actually, I would agree because I remember talking to a coworker and I'm like, you really need to see, like, not you, to a different coworker, and I'm like, if you like romance, you should watch, Your Name. And I could see House Moving Castle as well. You're like,
bro, and within the first 5 minutes, he floats her up in the sky. Like, they're gonna get hooked. It only takes 5 minutes; they'll see it.
You're right.
So I think I would recommend it more to people than I would other animes because of the multiple qualities that I'd be willing to give to normies.
House Moving Castle definitely above most animes. Like, it's hard to recommend Attack on Titan to every motherfucker who had never seen anime before. Like, y'all gonna get lost before you even unless you just
before you even meet Levi.
They'll be like, ew, why are people eating people? Mariah, what are you introducing to us next week?
Next week, while we're on this anime train, I'm sharing Skate the Infinity.
Skate the Infinity?
Yeah, it's not too much of the vibe. It's not really spring, summertime, but, I figured we could just dive in.
They said that I'm the kid in the show, and I hate them for that.
Kinsey's definitely the child.
I'm not the kid!
I'm so excited to watch this fucking opening again, dude.
Yeah, the opening's the best, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
What?
That's good. At first I was like, is this the Mario?
What are you talking about? This is perfect.
When you first started it, like the first couple boops. But that
it
is
said boob.
perfect.
It's because it said boob.
I think it is.
It's a base.
You were like, boop, 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 boop.
It's
no, that's completely different.
It's
like,
no, but the first couple boop, boop, boop. So I was like, where's she going with that?
Fuck off.
Yeah. But I'm excited. It's a fun one.
I can't wait till we actually have a lot of listeners watch. If they ever listen to this years from now, we have tons. I'm gonna feel embarrassed saying that. But
we're just manifesting.
I would love to do polls where I'd be like, which characters from this movie or show that we just reviewed do you think each one of us resonate with?
Yeah,
and
keep that in mind in the future when you're doing the poll about Skate. Kinsey is 5 feet tall, and she is a Sagittarius rising. So if you really break down who she is, I just need you guys to really take that into consideration when you're voting.
I'm Longa. Shut up, bitch. Shut up. My Virgo moon. Just let me be Longa, bitch.
I would fucking
I'm
be...
Reki, okay?
Yeah, you're Reki. So accept
and
it.
I'll claim it.
I'd be fucking Shadow.
Yeah.
That's who they'd vote me as.
Dang.
Okay.
It's
if y'all
fine.
gonna be Reki and Shadow, then I'll be the child.
Yeah.
I'll accept it if y'all are
I'll fully accept that I do kin Reki.
Wait, damn. We have like a 2-tier category. We have Joe, Cherry, and Longa. And then we have Reki, Shadow, and
the
Child.
I'm not hating on Reki, the child. I'm not hating on Reki, but like,
he annoying as
he
fuck.
the worst parts of me. He's my Cancer moon up in here.
Cancer moon.
Fine. But okay, we'll catch you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.